Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing an audio commentary, and this time I'm commentating on Game 2 of the Arena MSL Round of 32 Group G matchup between C and Luxury. This is being played on Colloseum, a map which I think the general consensus would agree favors the Terran player. C is starting up in purple, playing Terran obviously at the 1 o'clock position, and across the map from him is Luxury, looking quite smart in his t-shirt with his hairstyle, at the 7 o'clock position, playing Zerg in red. So I'm looking forward to this matchup. Both these players are players who have done quite well in the past and have had a lot expected of them, but have really failed to deliver in that regard. Luxury is one of the better Zerg players around, but he hasn't really been able to jump to the forefront, even to the extent that, say, someone like GG Play has, making a big semi-final or a final. C, on the other hand, so many people have talked about him being such a great Terran player. Personally, I don't buy into that hype. I'm yet to be convinced that he is that good, or as good as people claim. He seems to crumble every time I've seen him play on the big stage. He has failed to perform consistently, regardless of how much talent or ability he has shown. And until he really produces, I'm going to remain unconvinced. And I'm looking for him to do that this season in the MSL. And hopefully he can do that and answer his critics, which obviously includes me. A couple of things I just wanted to point out. People who are PMing me, don't think that I'm rude if I don't respond. I do have issues with RSI, so I tend to avoid typing as much as possible, which is also why I don't put a lot of information in when I post up the videos. I don't type in a lot of information in the game info box and stuff. So unfortunately, I will only reply to a PM if I feel it's absolutely essential. But I do appreciate the PMs that are sent. Looks like Luxury going for a 12-hash build, while C blocking off his choke. So I do appreciate the PMs that are sent, and thank you guys for those, but I probably will not reply unless I feel it's absolutely essential. Again, as far as requests to add more information go, I try to give as much information as I can about colors and positions and all of that stuff, and the tournament and the significance and all that in the VODs themselves, so I don't feel the need to retype it, and I probably won't be doing that, and requests to that will go unheralded. The other thing I want to point out is, again, please do check out sc2gg.com. Quite a few good commentaries there. It looks like C is going for a 1 racks into CC build. He's blocked off his choke. It looks like he's ready to put the command center down. That is turtling is one of the very viable strategies on this map, but I think if you do turtle, you need to keep the pressure up on your opponent, and I think C will be very aware of the mistakes that Fantasy made versus Savior, and I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think we're going to see him going for a big out mech build. So, and clever enough, we've seen more of a trend this season from Zerg players. Maybe it's because of the nature of the map, to actually send out that drone to get that scout off as well. I mean, usually if you don't find the opponent base with the first overload, you have to send the drone out anyway, but I think we do see a greater tendency to send that drone out to scout. So obviously not having the scout does hurt the Zerg players, but Zerg players are used to playing bind. Third hatchery going up now for Luxury, and interesting enough, he's decided to put that third hatchery, and this is what makes the difference. Savior scouted very, very early against Fantasy, if you remember, in his game, and he was able to get that drone in before that choke went up, and now Engineering Bay going up for C. Savior was able to get that drone in before that choke went up, and so he was able to see that expansion, and therefore he went for the third gas, and his build varied accordingly, and that's what really allowed him to play a much more competitive game and take the lead right from the start, and then it was difficult from Fantasy from there on in. Whereas because Luxury's scout, by the time it arrives at C's base, the choke is blocked off. He's not sure of what Luxury's build is behind that barracks and supply depot. He might be building a second barracks, he might be building a factory, going for a bio build. You have no idea what he might be going for, and so therefore he has to take the more circumspect route to be on the safe side and put his third hatchery in the middle, as it were, of his base, as opposed to going for that third gas. It looks like already Lair teching for Luxury, so as soon as he's got that hatchery up, he's taking to Lair. Unfortunately for him, that is going to get scouted out by C with that scouting SCV, assuming C does send it up northwards towards his base. He's got that engineering up as well, so he's going to have those upgrades early on. I think C is in a pretty good position in this game, provided he doesn't do anything stupid. I think the Zerg player really has to work quite hard to keep the Terran player off base and keep the Terran player off guard, but it'll be interesting to see which of these two players is able to affect stronger strategy. And now Luxury using that cliff just to scout inside C's base, but because of the positioning of C's buildings, he's not actually going to see much, and that is the right way to go. Academy now going up for C as well, and I'm wondering if that's a supply depot. I thought for a second he might be foolishly putting down a turret. That would be just ridiculous, but obviously not doing that. So Academy going down for C. He's going to be ready to make a little bit of a push out fairly early on, try and put some pressure on Luxury and get him to put down some Sunkens. The other thing about this choke is that it is a fairly narrow choke. but that expansion, the second expansion, is vulnerable. That SCV continues to scout around in Luxury's base, and I think it is a little bit careless of Luxury. Luxury now putting that Spire up, trying to keep that hidden from that SCV, but I'm sure C is going to anticipate that that's exactly what's going on. C now putting the second and third barracks, so no mechanized heroics from C, going for a much more standard turn build versus Luxury. These two guys really have a lot to prove. I have to say, I'm not really fond of this map, Colloseum. We did see a great game produced by it between Flash and Jangbi, but I'm still not a huge converted fan of this. I do feel that this is a map that does encourage turtling to an extent, and it doesn't encourage, especially the turn player, to really venture out and put a lot of pressure on their opponent because of the ease of taking their bases and slowly expanding. Now you can see the third and fourth barracks going up for C, so C really getting ready to pump out those Medic Marines. Meanwhile, Spire just about complete for Luxury, and I cannot overstate the importance of the Mutalisc Harass that's going to be coming out from Luxury now. So he's got one sunken up. He's seen the small group of Medic Marines by C pushing forward. I think Luxury will be in a comfortable position to defend this. Again, the cross-map position will help him in that regard. C is not really putting up any defenses in terms of turrets, and I think that might leave him a little bit vulnerable to this coming Mutalisc Harass from Luxury. I think he might be a little bit overconfident, getting another scan off. He's seen the one sunken, seen the second sunken as well. The Spire is now up for Luxury. C needs to start putting on a couple of turrets, because I think even though he's got the 4 racks, he's going to struggle to both be able to pressure his opponent and defend his base with the way that the Mutalisc Harass can be performed on this map. Now putting up his factory, and my guess is that the purpose of the factory is not really to produce any siege tanks, but just to get him to get that be able to get that starport down. So see, pulling that Medic Marine group back, probably realizing that he's not going to be able to really break that sunken line. He's pressured his opponent enough to put a couple on. So Hydra Stand going up, interestingly enough, now for Luxury, as well as his evolution chamber. I'm yet to see a single. I'd love to see C's natural expo and see whether or not he's decided to put a couple of turrets down there. He seems to be very overly confident in his ability to defend this Mutalisc Harass, assuming he thinks it's coming. He has to anticipate that Mutalisc Harass is going to come from Luxury. Luxury obviously is going to use that Mutalisc Harass, and as is common for Zerg players to do, to get that third expansion down, to get that third gas up and going, and it's the key for him. And okay, so he has put down turrets in his natural expo, not in his main though. So able to negate that Mutalisc Harass, has put down 4 turrets, and there's enough space behind that mineral line for the turrets and for Medic and Marines to come out and defend those turrets if need be, which obviously works in favor of the turn player. So Luxury coming in again, 5 barracks now up for C, and Luxury's Mutalisc Harass, at least his early forays, haven't been able to do too much damage. He's just trying to find some avenue to attack his opponent. He managed to pick off a couple of Marines there with the Mutaliscs, but well-positioned turrets. So C seems to have been very circumspect and very economical, so you've got to give him credit for that. He's been very economical in the amount of turrets that he's placed and in the positioning of his turrets. Luxury looks like he's producing a lot of Zerglings here, and just content to keep the pressure on C. You see once again pushing out with, he's got about 2 full groups of Medic and Marines out. I think Luxury's got more than enough in terms of units and ground defense to actually hold out against it. C now sending a second group, so he's leaving himself a little bit vulnerable in his base should Luxury decide to go in for another attack. But the fact that he's already got 5 barracks up allows him to produce those Marines at a massive rate. Luxury just trying to slow his opponent down. I think he is going to struggle a little bit. He's gone for the Hydralist Den, so he's going to struggle. He hasn't got the Lurker tech up yet, and I think he's going to struggle a little bit to defend. So now the Lurkers are morphing in for Luxury. I think he might be in a little bit of trouble if those Medic and Marines arrive, and he's just trying to slow them down long enough to get that Lurker tech up. And if Luxury can slow C down enough to get that Lurker tech up, he's going to be in a very strong position. On the other hand, if those Lurkers get taken out, which it looks like they might be, in Luxury's in huge trouble now, because C's Medic and Marine group is right on top of those Lurkers, and those Lurkers are not yet morphed, and this is going to spell disaster for Luxury. He's going to lose all of his Lurkers, he's losing all of his Mutaliscs, and this is going to be horrible for him. And Luxury just in a terrible position. There was absolutely no need for that, and Luxury GG's. He loses the Lurkers and GG's, doesn't even bother to try and fight it out. He only had the 2 sunkens. He was really counting on the Lurkers to help him defend, and I really don't understand why, when all C had was Medic and Marines, he had to put those Hydralists so far out from his sunkens, out of the range of the protection of his sunkens. If he had built the Lurkers behind or even in an off position, he would have been much more comfortable, but he put those Lurkers out and was unable to hold C's Medic and Marine group, and a very easy victory for C, not even really having to try there, not having to do anything, and Luxury just throwing that game away through some very poor choice of strategy, because if you're going to push the Lurkers to a forward position, make sure that you really go forward. Otherwise, there's not much point. You might as well keep them within range of the Sunkens, because you can always push the Medic and Marines back with Lurkers and Zerglings if you need to. Just being a couple of even, I don't know, centimeters out from your base, it just seems a little bit pointless, and Luxury getting caught, unfortunately, in a dodgy position, and an easy victory for C there. So C taking a comfortable win, putting him in a good position to qualify through from this group, and Luxury not coming up to scratch. This is Klazart. Thanks for listening.
다크 모양입니다. 영간지라고 하는 영차득이요 뭐 이런 얘기거든요. 그 위에 소녀시대 버로에서 벗어나갑니다.